Hi, welcome to tonight's edition of Blue Soak. Again, John, Dave, and myself. We're going to look back over our fairly emphatic victory against Cardiff. Of course, look back at all the other Pro 12 results and look forward to our tour down to South Africa as well. So, boys, 37-9. I suppose quite have to mention Devin Toner's 200th appearance for Leinster. It's a fairly significant milestone.
It is, and funny enough, most of us remember his first appearance, although for nothing to do with Devin Toner. He made his debut the night that Felipe Contepomi had that great game, if you remember, the night his daughter was born.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the day that Johnny Sexton made his debut, and it was the day as well that Devin Toner made his debut. So he kind of slipped in as the third on the bill on that night. Boy, has he repaid it ever since, though. He's been a fantastic player for us. He really, really has. And something that's often forgotten about is he's a really good footballer. If you take a look at Bath in the Aviva Stadium, the Christmas cracker that time, Devin Toner was brilliant that day. His hands were brilliant. He had 3 or 4 really important pieces of handling in that game that were absolutely superb.
Like, he's starting to use his body a bit more, isn't he? Like,
yeah,
he used to get drifted back in. Occasionally he'd take a ball and he'd just get...
He'd go in too high.
He'd go in too high. But I think he's kind of changed that now, and he does carry the ball better and lower as well.
Yeah.
He does. But, it obviously it takes time to fill out a frame like that. And also, he's just... Even though he has soft hands, he's just because he's so. I suppose he can make 3 meters just by falling over with his arms out. So that's an advantage when you're carrying. He can, if he gets within 3 meters of the line, he can just reach out, basically. So I'm very happy that he made 200 caps. Anyway, it's a great milestone.
The 6th player to achieve that.
I know there's going to be more as things ramp up from about 2006 when there were more games in the league, etc.
Players coming in younger.
So but still, their careers are getting a little bit shorter as well.
That's true.
Like, he's had a 12-year career, say O'Driscoll or whatever, so far, yeah. And say O'Driscoll had 12 or 13 or 14, whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? But like a lot of the players now, they kind of start young, but they don't really get past. They don't get into their 30s, unfortunately.
It's quite attritional.
Anyway, we secured our 13th straight victory over the Cardiff Blues.
Wow.
But we got off to a pretty slow start. Like, we were 6-0 down after half an hour.
Yeah,
we were only 4 points up after an hour.
We made an awful lot of mistakes. I mean, we played very error-strewn rugby. I mean, Cardiff were good at the basics, or some of the basics. I mean,
good in defence.
They had a good hard line in defence. And they moved it around well. The defensive line, I mean, they shifted. But beyond that, they didn't offer much else, and we just kept giving them opportunities. Whether it was Easton to see was yellow card, which led to points, or just any of the other silly little things we did that led to points. I mean, all of their points were easily avoidable errors that we made.
Yeah, well, Easton and Sewa was the obvious. He was kind of lucky that that could have been red. It would have been very harsh red, but I've seen red given in situations like that, especially with the new directive this year. So I think yellow was fair. I don't think it should have been red, but
in fairness, credit has to go to Alex Cuthbert, who bounced straight up into his feet. He didn't try and sell it for something it wasn't.
He's a class guy, that fella.
So,
well, he's a man who enjoys his nights out in Dublin. He has to protect his reputation.
Exactly.
We really, like, at that point in the game, we really didn't need Easton as they were being sent off. We're finding hard enough to bloody score. Having said that, Cardiff didn't create any chances. They didn't. If the game was still going on, they probably wouldn't have scored a try. So they were set up. And in fairness to them, they don't have. I mean, there's a lot of their front liners out, like ourselves, but they don't have the depth that we do. They just don't. They don't have the academy. They don't have the money. They don't have the ability to sign high-ranking foreign players. They're kind of hamstrung in a lot of ways. So
it must be said they're hamstrung by their own incompetence.
Possibly, yeah. Some people would say that, and others would say they're hamstrung by the WRU.
But they'd be wrong.
Well, truth's always in the middle, Dave.
Well, no. I mean, Cardiff are the biggest playing catchment area of any of the Welsh regions. And yet they're quite, by some considerable distance, the worst run. You can look at them. You don't need to be a forensic accountant to look and see how poorly run Cardiff are. And you look at how Clonetty are run. You look at how the Ospreys are run in particular, and you compare that to Cardiff. Cardiff are. It's a pity, really, because they have nice fans and it's a nice place to go. And
yeah,
but as a club, they've nothing to offer modern rugby except history.
But they should be. I mean, they're a capital city team.
Yeah.
As you said, they have a big catchment area. You know, they have a venue right in the centre, their city centre, and yet they are continually crap. Like they've had a couple of decent runs. They got semi-final of the European Cup when they were beaten by drop goal penalty shootout. Yeah. And they won the Challenge Cup. But apart from that, they have contributed nothing to the league.
Everybody in Wales had to cut their cloth at that time. We'd say, I mean, in fairness,
2009 was when it happened. The Galactico era ended at the Ospreys. The money all went down.
But the Ospreys maintained their competitiveness.
Didn't the league, all right?
Scarlets maintained their competitiveness. Blues didn't. And if I were to say Neath, Swansea, Llanelli, Cardiff, Newport, name another great Welsh club, the first club you think of would be Pontypridd, right? And Pontypridd are in Cardiff's region. But Pontypridd supporters would rather open a vein and die than go and see Cardiff play, because of the word Cardiff.
Well,
but they've made no effort to overcome this situation.
We're at the risk of going over old well-trodden ground on Cardiff.
Well, Cardiff off the field are as symbolic as they were on the field.
Meanwhile, back at the game, I thought they like the Dragons the week before. I thought they showed commitment. At least where they were limited was by their own talents, and they couldn't create much. But at least they got stuck in. They didn't roll over like some teams have done in the past, including Cardiff themselves. So they kept us honest up until 60 minutes. I mean,
they stayed resolute.
It was a game. It was 7 points in it, I think, at 60 minutes when Sean Cronin scored the try.
But that was nothing to do with Cardiff. That was to do with us. John, in the first 20 minutes, we probably had 90% of possession.
We did.
We couldn't convert anything, and all of a sudden it's half an hour gone and we're 6-0 down.
Cardiff didn't let us, though. You know, there's two elements to that. Yes, we've had handling errors.
Until he kicked, was it 16-9, the penalty he kicked for 16-9, Ross Byrne, he was having a mare.
Yeah.
He was playing like a drain. Now, in fairness, he grabbed it and turned it round a bit. But
I mean, I think the changing point was the bench coming on, really.
Yeah.
Like they added, I mean, we'll see the try shortly, but you know, Cronin's try was the changing point of that game. At that point, I think it was 16-9.
It was, yeah.
And you know, there was only 20 minutes to go, and yet when he came on, and it was that spark of, you know, you had a guy who played in the World Cup final winning a ball on the ground that he shouldn't have won, and then Cronin showing the speed of a centre.
Yeah. No, what I mean in terms of Ross Byrne, the way he was playing, was in terms of the individuals were playing badly, all of them, as individuals and collectively.
But there was lots of them. I mean,
that's what I mean.
And
there was a turnaround point.
Our pack was quite dominant, I thought, and we know our line out driving from the line out was very strong, and of course our back row is just phenomenal. But some of the decision making by the half backs, the wingers weren't particularly good. Then Rob Kearney got injured. Issa was in the bin for 10 minutes. There's a lot of contributing factors to us not getting the points when we needed them in the first half.
Very true. And that was a momentum killer, that Issa getting sent to the bin. You know?
Basically, we had 67 minutes, 62 minutes, 67 minutes.
62, I think.
62 minutes of playing of stinking the place out, and then from that point on, we actually kind of remembered. Hold on, we're actually quite good at this rugby lark.
Well, the flip side of that is, Cardiff are a bit of a 60-minute team. They don't have the bench. Their bench were fairly weak. So when we were bringing on strong guys to lift it,
I think they were bringing on permit guys, like guys from Cardiff or FC.
Yeah, exactly.
They were. You're
really bringing on Levy. You're bringing on
Sean
Cronin.
Yeah.
You know, even Luke McGrath's coming on as well.
They're Nick
McGrath.
JP Randomer from wherever, So that kind of thing is going to tell. They're doing a lot of defending as well in the first half, so that you're going to run out of steam if you're basing your game on that.
Yeah.
You know, unless you've got guys who can come on and knock heads together, you're going to eventually run out of steam. Unless you're an international team or that kind of quality that can keep it up. Australia can do it, for example, for long periods of time. But Cardiff are not in that zone. They're likely to be this season.
You sure, John? You don't want to back them now? You go for Edinburgh, are you?
I think Cardiff will remain firmly in the friend zone.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a quick look at the 4 tries anyway? So James Tracy was first up from a driving
Yeah.
line out.
One thing we did well in the first half.
Although
Don't give it to the backs. That was
our throwing in wasn't the greatest. When
It was
we
a very
won,
blustery night.
yeah. Well, it was. In fairness, it was. No, that's true. But it's always a blustery night in Ireland in the winter, you know.
Okay.
It was,
But it was
decent
a well
drive.
managed maul.
They weren't that low. There was a few body positions I was going, but they got over. Fair play to them. And he did the business,
did, yeah.
getting the ball down. The ref just missed it. Just came along a fraction too late to see it. But yeah, it was good. It was good to get it done. It was kind of a little bit of a. There was a guy in the bin, as you can see from the graphic there. I think he just came back on after the conversion was kicked.
He did, yeah.
So it was a good statement. Like, we 14 men. We're going to push it over. Like, don't give it to the girls.
I thought just before we showed the second try, I thought the try or the penalty that we got on the stroke of half time.
Yes.
Do you remember was it a kick through that?
Yep.
A lot of people were criticising a lot of people were criticising Russ Byrne for kicking the ball away. It was clearly a called move. And to see what got shunted out of it, and they went back and it was a penalty awarded, which made the score,
Respectable.
10-6 rather than 7-6.
Yeah.
And psychologically, I think going in.
Yeah,
at
put a bit of
half-time-
breath into it. Yeah, put a bit of breath into our guys as opposed to theirs at half time.
Yeah. Byrne is normally really good at kicking from hand, so he did that quite badly at times in that first half.
Nice little sneaky turnover
there
there
we
from
go.
Ferdy. He's not even anywhere near full pace there. I mean, you can see.
But
he's
he had a prop running after.
Yeah.
Didn't he pull his hamstring towards the end of last season, doing something similar?
He was about to launch into it, and the hamstring went, and he had to pop off.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
scored though.
And it just shows you he kind of opened up there, and his hammer didn't seem to. I'm sure he was in the back of his mind.
We're
he
getting
was
another
thinking,
look at the turnover here, are we?
Oh, we are.
Because it was borderline.
No, it's strict legal there.
It just about came out right. But yeah, there was nobody there
Nobody at home.
that was going to catch him. The guy who was closest to him was, I think, a front rower,
He was,
a fellow front rower. So it was a lucky break in that way. And like you said, he didn't even get full pace up. It was good to get Luke McGrath back up to speed as well. He kind of grew into the game a bit. He didn't start amazingly well, but he certainly finished well.
I think both halfbacks played.
What time did he go off?
It was
70, 67, something like that.
Yeah. Well, he was on for that anyway. That was 67. I think both halfbacks had a bit of a stinker, but it happens. I mean, everyone does. I mean, there's games. Everyone has a bad game.
I
every
think
now and again.
sometimes there's lack of sympathy in the passes. They're just the ball has been flung at people, and it's like.
They get desperate and they start
But
not
it's
desperate,
forcing it.
Forcing
But, it doesn't
Overanxious.
take a
That's the
lot
word.
to give the ball to the guy so that he can run onto it, instead of flinging it as hard as you can at their face or above their shoulder.
If you're not playing well, and you know you're not playing well, and you're trying really, really hard to make amends, and the defense
Overthinking
you're overthinking it. Defense is right up in your face. You make mistakes, especially if you're an inexperienced player. I mean, experienced players make fewer mistakes because they've already made their mistakes, so they know not to make them again.
Well, Russ Byrne made up for his poor kicking out of
He
hand
certainly did.
in the next try with his back to his usual form. He's able to place the ball so well on the run, and he's scored. People have scored more tries off his cross kicks. I'd love to see stats on it, but I seem to remember a lot of them last season.
Nick McCarthy's on at this point, so
Yeah,
It's his go-to move, isn't it?
72.
Yeah.
Like, it's his little party trick, and he's so good at it.
that's where Levy actually gets injured.
Right. Here we go now. Another phase. Boom. Look at that for a skill. And of course the catch was
Catch was
Poetry.
superb, yeah.
like how he controlled the ball and got it down without knocking it on was impressive,
You
You
just have to
see it in the replay now. Like he kind of knocked it forward, caught it, controlled it, and he had it well under control. He had it into his chest before he hit the deck. You can see it now, I think, from this angle. Knocked it forward, controlled it, into his chest. And
It was very much an Aussie rules style diving catch, wasn't it?
You'd have to say GAA in this parish now.
That would be more Aussie rules, that style of catch now. GA, you get both hands
Both
behind the
hands,
ball,
yeah.
you know.
That's true.
Well, he's actually when he gets his opportunities, Barry, he scores his tries.
He does.
You know.
He's a good man for the meat pies.
He's got a great turn of speed as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, he was very unfortunate that. I mean, he really did put the hammer down, didn't he?
Yeah. So our last try was shortly after the kickoff for this.
Yeah.
It was actually from the kickoff.
From the kickoff,
Yeah, we're going from the kickoff here.
Yeah, it was a miracle. How the hell did we get out of that with a bonus point win? But
I was definitely thinking
did.
20 minutes to go, we went for points rather than going for the corner. And I was thinking, East is dead right, win the game first rather than trying to get a bonus point when
Absolutely.
it's not on.
There's a lovely there was one there, but there's a lovely little powered handoff from Nick McCarthy just before he scores the try, and he uses the guy's momentum to push himself. It's a great, when you land them well, it's great. There, look how lively he is.
And that's actually Russ McLaughlin. There's.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, the hands are great here.
Yeah, it was a bit of fortuitous now. This went. He
Should
just
he have
flung it
given it to
behind
Adam
him.
Byrne there?
No, I think he made the right. If you see it from behind, if
You'll see this.
the line that Van der Fleer is taking is the right line and it's the right pass to make, it doesn't come off. But they get rewarded for the decision making, and because Nick McCarthy's following up.
That's it.
I think he just knew there was two players on his inside and flung the ball in their direction. I don't think it was, but
If you look at it from the end, if you'll see grey hands there again. If you see it from the end, you'll see now. Look, there's the line that puts him into a hole. You see,
yeah. Do you see that little powered handoff there?
pushes him on.
If you execute that, you might see it in this
Great work
angle.
from Porter there.
If you execute that just right, you get a little power boost. Here you go, boom, and he just enough to take him over the line.
It was that little bit of dew. If that had have been in the earlier part of the evening, it mightn't have been that dew on the grass.
I think you can overanalyze something. Yeah, it was a nice reward for the people who'd stayed till the end, and put up with the previous, 75 minutes of relatively uninspiring fare. But look, you're going to get games like that. You're going to get performances like that from players. At the end of the day, we won the match. Good points difference.
Oh yeah.
Bonus point. Try scored. Job done.
Yeah.
Let's pack our buckets and spades and head for the beaches of Port Elizabeth.
Well, one thing that I noticed was that the crowd seemed to be a little bit up on what we were used to last season.
Yeah.
Free stuff, Jay. Free stuff.
Maybe so, but there was I just look back at say the equivalent fixture last year. There was 10,100 at, and this time round it was 3,500.
When was it? It was in February, I think. Was it?
It was towards the latter end of the
Towards the
season.
end, and actually, I found that I remember saying it on this at the time that I found it ridiculous that we had such a low crowd because Leinster were just coming off scoring, I think, 120 points in 2 matches, and 10,000 people turned up to see them.
It was
Which I
regularly,
thought was poor.
but there was regular attendances of 10,000.
Yeah,
Like there was 13,500 at the match on.
Well, hopefully it's a sign of things to come.
And when you consider the amount of players, like should we say walk-ups that might just go to a rugby match, not necessarily be season ticket holders or even that, fanatical about sport in Leinster. But when you have the likes of the Five Lions, obviously missing Ringrose, Heaslip, household names, Dave Carney, they might say, well, geez, who is, Ross Byrne, Barry Daly, Adam Byrne, etc. Who are these lads? I'm not going to go and waste 30 quid on a ticket to go to them.
The other thing is, not everyone has a pack butler like I have, who they can send in to collect their packs. Some people have to go and collect them in person. Imagine it, the poverty.
Well, anyway, turn our attention to the other Pro 14 results. Edinburgh continued on their good form with a 35-18 victory over the Dragons.
Yeah, Cockrell was spitting fire after the Cardiff game. He was not impressed with how they played.
That's a bit of a tongue twister, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He wasn't impressed with how they played against Cardiff.
And he was doing it again.
And then obviously against Dragons. But Cockrell's clever enough to know that he can't always rant about them.
That's true.
He knows that at some stage he's going to have to throw them a jelly baby.
He must be quietly having a chuckle to himself when he sees that Leicester have lost their opening 2 matches this year.
That's true.
Yeah, in fairness, there were 2 big derbies that Leicester are going to play, so I wouldn't be too. I mean, they played.
No, they're the ones that want to win. Dave.
Oh, well, over the course of a season,
I know.
it doesn't. Bath and Northampton. And Northampton were on a serious bounce after what happened
Yeah.
So I would say that. But I'd say Cockrell is probably having a bit of a laugh anyway,
Well,
because he's getting to indulge his new victims for his mind games, you know.
If you want to put it in perspective, like the two teams we've played are the two teams Edinburgh have played. We've played Dragons away and Cardiff at home. They've played Cardiff away and Dragons at home. So I wouldn't be jumping up and down yet about Leinster, you know.
Yeah. Or maybe we should be jumping up and down about Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, I wouldn't get too
a
carried away
little
yet
from
about.
column A and a
Yeah,
little from column
exactly,
B.
yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure, Bernard Jackman has his work cut out.
Absolutely.
He does, yeah, he does. But then we knew that, he knew that,
Yeah.
the board knew that, and I think the fans know it. So
Have you heard what he said in the press there about he's going to have to leave the players on for 80 minutes if the subs are going to continue to be so shit?
Really?
That's what he said.
Wow.
That's what he said. He says if you can't get subs that are going to raise the level of the game, then we're going to have to. He said it's not right to leave a tight head prop on for 80 minutes, but that's what we're going to have to do.
Wow. But like he just at the build up on Sky, they kind of like when we played them last week, they mentioned something about there's more money coming to him that he can dip his toe into the transfer market. So
Hopefully.
must be some release of funds.
well, I hope so because they need players. I mean, Gavin Henson is what he is. I mean, in fairness, he's a
scored all the
skillful.
points.
He's a
He's still
skillful,
talented.
He's a skillful rugby player, who can play a functional game. Sometimes his attention wanders though. You could see it against us, for example. Some of those kicks he put through were just bad choices and
badly executed.
from a guy who is a really, really lovely striker of ball. So I don't know. And they've got. I mean, they have good players. They have some good players,
Not enough.
but not an awful lot.
No.
But he's got to work. But then the expectations are low. So
I think Jason could probably get his game in the second row over there.
Anyway,
Jason can his game in the centres over there.
my natural position. So Glasgow, they look like they're going. I saw that match actually against Ospreys. They look like they're going to be a strong outfit this season.
Yeah.
Particularly, we've got them in Europe as well.
Yeah.
Well, again, a little from column A, a little from column B. The Ospreys are absolutely dire.
Yeah.
Atrocious.
They're just not having a good few months from the middle or from the end of last season into this season. They're just whatever is wrong with them, I don't know, but they're not the team they were.
Sam Davies played like an absolute drain.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see the game.
You saw it, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Davies was dreadful. He was dreadful.
But you know, Glasgow, they're always going to be good, and they're going to get better with Dave Rennie. The only one good thing from our perspective is that their new South African prop is out for 6 to 8 weeks, so that might take us through the Champions Cup.
I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I wouldn't worry about him.
Glasgow.
About the prop. I mean,
All right.
he wouldn't make a difference in the team. If we beat them, it won't be because
I've been
it
more.
won't be because of Ollie Keble.
I've been more concerned that we have no centres.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And,
Ollie Keble won't
That's
make
true.
a difference. I mean, we've got 4 props that could quite easily handle him on. Well, you know what I mean. We've got-
And our star signing from
Yeah.
New Zealand hasn't arrived.
yeah. So what I'm worried about Glasgow, it's got nothing to do with Ollie Keble.
I worry that more into the season they get the better Dave Rennie's influence.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
he's
sure.
only there,
The wet
3
weekend,
4
yeah.
weeks
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Oh no! And the thing that you notice about Glasgow is the complete opposite to Dragons. They were able to. They have a bench that they can use that will make
They
a
have a
difference.
fairly deep squad,
They have a good squad. They have a deep squad. One of the things Townsend did do was leave him with a good deep squad. So, but I still think we'll have him in the front row.
we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
well off yet.
Munster continued on their fairly
Their training run.
free scoring opening to the season. They've beat the Cheetahs 51-18.
Cheaters and the Cheetahs.
But Orange,
Alex Wootton got 4 tries.
he did.
He scored
Interesting-
half of the 8 tries.
Interesting story about him. His mum and dad are Irish, and he grew up over in the UK, and he was with Northampton Saints through their academy. And somebody spotted him and said, "Sign him up, bring him back home."
Looks like a good signing from our perspective now. Having said that, the Cheetahs, I didn't see the game actually either, but a friend of mine was at it and he said it was appalling standard.
So the first half, and
The Cheetahs were pussies.
There you go.
They were dreadful.
But like-
I mean, I'm a fan of South African rugby and I'm a fan of this move. But they want to get their thumbs out of their asses.
but they're
After
they're
next week.
trying to. They've got the Orange Free State are playing in the Curry Cup. They were beaten. They played on Saturday as well. They were beaten 57-14 by Western Province.
Yeah, they're split.
Like no team. Doesn't matter. Leinster couldn't do it. They
I couldn't play 2 Celtic League matches at once. which is what we're
Yeah.
expecting them to. Now that is a fair point.
And not
yeah.
only that, like they're splitting their coaches, they're splitting their medical team, their backup, their players. Like you just no team
Just
can
can't
do
be
that.
done. No,
Well, the
I
problem
agree,
is
I agree.
they can't disrespect, in inverted commas, the Curry Cup because it's a 120
Yeah,
year
no,
old
that's fair enough,
competition,
that's
and
fair
you can't
enough.
just say, right, to hell with that, we're playing in the Pro 14. So they kind of have to. They're between a
But
rock and a hard place there.
The other hand side of that is they can't disrespect
Respected
the
by
Pro
playing
14
shit.
by doing
But
similar.
I suppose
because-
the whole thing was set up like it's only 6 weeks ago that
Oh,
the
I know, I
official
know.
and okay, in the background everyone knew that this was going to happen probably 3 months ago because there were so many rumours flying around. But still, 3 months is quite a relatively short amount of time to organise, to
with
find replacement teams and so on.
with everything as it is, I don't mind them being crap. I do mind them not looking like they're trying.
Mm.
And I don't think the Cheetahs looked like they were trying in that game against Munster.
Mm.
Kings are a different matter.
Do you think that they're just not used to the tempo?
I think that's a factor. I do think that's a factor. I do think that rugby in the Northern Hemisphere and rugby in the Southern Hemisphere is very different.
A lot of them haven't been up here
yeah.
either. Don't know what's going
It's
on.
refereed different. It's played differently. The grounds are different. The grass is different. There's more humidity in the air. So if you're used to kicking a ball in dry temperature, in dry
Especially-
conditions, dry arid conditions, it goes a lot further than it does in Galway.
And
You know,
especially
even with the
up
wind at
high.
your back. So there's all sorts of things, and it is hard. In fairness, it is hard, but that doesn't stop. I was very disappointed with the effort from the Cheetahs on.
Because it was a kind of a
Yeah.
historic
Yeah.
fixture.
And particularly with Razzie,
Yeah.
Exactly.
having the links between the two sides.
I don't think any of them have done their international prospects any
I wouldn't have
favours.
thought so.
Look, we'll see what they're like. They'll be a lot better when they get back home and back up to Bloemfontein.
Yeah. So
It also puts Ulster's game, who you're probably going to come on to next, in a bit of perspective, because like they made hard work of the Cheetahs in the first half last week, and this week they made very hard work at Treviso.
Yeah.
Who, maybe Treviso have improved a bit, but Ulster do not look like they've sorted out all their issues either. You know?
Well, my worry about Ulster is that
They didn't get their bonus points.
they might be
They were
with-
nearly caught.
with their staff that they have with the playing staff they have available to them. They've new coaches that they might be a bit one dimensional. That it bosh and if that doesn't work, try boshing. You know, they've huge centres, they've a big back row. They're going to play a very, almost if you like, Springbok kind of game. But that's not going to work.
Springboks in Ulster.
Yeah, I know, but that's not going to work. In the Pro 12, that doesn't really work. Power game doesn't really work that well in the Pro 12. You have to be able to vary it. Now, it's early days for Ulster, but they really want to get themselves into gear as well, because those are two performances. Whatever about the Cheetahs has been thrown into contrast by what happened in Thomond Park, and the performance against Treviso just wasn't good enough.
Well, let's face it. Munster are missing a lot more players than Ulster in terms of like their internationals, the like of Stander and Murray and
O'Mahony.
Zebo was back for this one, but I don't think he started, or did he?
He came on.
Came on
No,
as a
no,
sub.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
He
thought.
replaced Sherman and scored 4 tries.
So, they're Ulster are probably missing less players, so you would expect them to do it better. They were both at home, the Cheetahs maybe
Ulster were away.
a little
Oh,
bit.
sorry, the 2 matches against Cheetahs.
Two
sorry.
matches
Yeah.
against the Cheetahs, Ulster had them up first, so maybe Ulster knocked the stuffing out of them a bit before Munster got at them. I don't know. Like the Scarlets knocked the stuffing out of the Southern Kings the previous week, and they didn't concede as many points to Connacht.
They looked like they were
It
trying.
looked like they were trying.
You know.
so.
So we'll see. It'll all show out in the wash.
Well, and Connacht, speaking of Southern Kings, Connacht beat them handy enough 32-10. I think I saw an interview with their new coach, and he seemed to be very nervous before the match when he was being interviewed. And
I saw that.
TG Carr. I suppose.
That's because he didn't speak Irish. Sorry.
Well, anyway, he certainly was.
Moving swiftly on.
But anyway, he was.
He did look very. He looked like a bit. There was an element of rabbit in the headlights there.
I thought, and I mean, I'm sure he obviously is that that was a no-win game for them. He was expected to beat the Southern Kings, yet at the same time, they were beaten at home against Glasgow last weekend. They didn't really show up and they needed that victory. But anyway, they got it.
Yeah.
And the final game was Zebra. No real surprise. Were beaten at home by the Scarlets. Scarlets look. I mean, like, it's hard to say anything, take anything from that game, but like Scarlets do look like a strong outfit this
Yeah,
season.
they've come out
again.
swinging. They haven't.
We've got to play them twice during the Six Nations.
Yeah.
In the 2 break weekends of the Six Nations.
The only thing is, I'm
when
sure
we're
that their
playing.
team will have a few Welsh internationals. Not clearly not as many
Well, they lose the Davies.
internationals as we
They
will.
lose.
We'll both only lose our starters, so we may have more starters than them.
I'm sure we will. Like, just 5 lines, so you got to take. They're going to start, and then there's.
They've only got 2 lines.
Yeah, they lost one and gained one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, one thing that I think is starting to become obvious again, like as we look at the tables of the 2 conferences, that there's this split is becoming quite obvious from the start of the season. That there's the haves and the have-nots. There's, a number of teams. I think there's 6 or 7 teams have won both their matches, and then there's 6 teams that have lost both their matches. Now, I know it's very, very early days yet, so you can't really make, someone like the Ospreys have lost their matches. So, like, they're going
The Ospreys won against Zebre, Zebre last week.
Oh, that's right, yeah, sorry. But, like,
scraped through.
Scraped through, yeah. Well,
but they're, they're going to come strong. You just know that they're such a good team that they will come back. But it is starting to look ominous that there's, the Italian teams don't look, okay, they might have improved slightly, but they're still losing the matches. The South African teams, they have got their own issues, but at the same time, they won't look back on their tour to Europe as very fruitful.
and then you've got the 2 Welsh teams that
Some
are
of them
not
have to
doing
come
so
back.
well.
Hmm?
Some of them have to come back. Some of the South Africans.
The other 2
Kings
Welsh
have to come
teams.
back, don't they?
Kings have to come back where?
To Europe.
They all have to come back to Europe, I'm sure.
They have to
Yeah.
come back to Europe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, what I'm saying is we have to play Kings.
Yeah.
So in Dublin, because they're in our conference.
yeah.
So they still have to come back to Europe.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They can be quite trepidatious
They
about
do have a big break though. The 2
Yeah.
South African teams, they're playing each other in January, which
Yeah.
will be fun because it's down there in January is
middle of
ridiculously
summer.
hot.
Yeah.
But they come back to Europe, I think, in February. They don't play in either December or January in Europe, as far as I know.
In South Africa.
They don't play in South Africa. Yeah, sorry. So we'll see where that leaves us on, and of course they're going to get breaks during the European weekends as well. So they might get their acts together. The Curry Cup finishes, I think, in October. So by after Christmas they might start to.
There's a lot of areas. A lot of
Cook.
teams would have provinces like the Borders, Boland, Griquas, Valka. They'd be lower Curry Cup 2 teams that you could that those teams would look to pick players up from, but only once the competition is over.
Yeah, we shall see. Well, that kind of teases up nicely for going to South Africa,
Which we're going to discuss in part 2.
which is where we're going next.
Okay, well, anyway, thanks very much, boys. And we, as John said, in the second half, we'll talk about our tour down to South Africa.